Okay, I need you to look at this for a second. Stripe is reportedly buying OpenRouter for $8 billion. And OpenRouter has about 90 employees. And it went from public to this sale within about 3 years. And before anybody tells me this is just AI valuations, let me break this down for you. Airbnb, the company that we all know and love, and many viewers have probably used, took about 6 years to get to, I believe, a $10 billion valuation. And Tesla, the company that was founded in 2008, took about 10 years, I believe, maybe even longer to get to that 10-ish billion valuation point. And think about it like this. Tesla had to build factories and cars and the brand and all that stuff in those 10 years. And OpenRouter did all of it in about 3. And I know these aren't identical things, but the thing that's important today and for this scenario is speed. OpenRouter doesn't own GPUs, it doesn't own the models, it doesn't own Claude, it doesn't own Gemini, it doesn't even own the model that's going to be coming out tomorrow. It's on paper a router, which is why I had questions. Routers are supposed to be boring. A router is the box that's blinking in your closet that you only look at when your Wi-Fi dies. You're not supposed to build an $8 billion company by being that little boring box. But here is what changed my mind. OpenRouter says that it processes more than 10 trillion tokens per day across more than 400 models. And I know the word token might be a scary word that's going to make a few people click away, but hear me on this. Forget about the word token for a second. What that number really represents is millions of decisions. Which AI model should do this job? Which provider has capacity for me? What does it cost? How fast is it? And what happens when this breaks? Now, this box is different. This box decides which AI answers you. And when you sit in the middle of that many decisions, you don't just see AI usage. You start to influence where demand goes. I'm Wadud. I've worked at Microsoft and Tesla, and on Wadud AI, we go past the headlines before we decide what's really real here. So this isn't really going to be a story about Stripe buying an AI company. This is going to be the answer to the question that you probably typed to get here. ChatGPT versus Claude versus Gemini. Which one actually wins? But instead of just telling you in a few minutes, I want to go through and make them fight for the same tasks over the same prompts with a live scoreboard. Because I think Stripe just spent $8 billion telling us the answer. No one AI is going to win every job. And by the end of this video, I'll show you the one sentence in Stripe's own press release that basically admits it. Because here's the part that makes this deal pretty strange. While OpenRouter was becoming an $8 billion router, ChatGPT became the fastest mobile app ever to reach 1 billion monthly active users. 1 billion. In roughly the same 3 years. Faster than TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and all that other stuff. So sit with that. If ChatGPT was simply going to win everything, why would Stripe make an $8 billion bet on the company whose whole premise is you should be able to switch between all the models? And this is not a ChatGPT is dead video. That would be dumb. This is more a video to help you understand the dynamics of the model world changing and who is gaining steam or losing steam or gaining ground or not. It does not mean that ChatGPT lost half of its users. It means that more people are using more than one AI. People treat model choice like a sports team. You know, I'm team ChatGPT, or I use Claude all the time. And honestly, I think it's the wrong question. The real question should be, what job am I trying to get done and what is the best model for it? For me personally, a system I use is usually, what is the most powerful frontier model that's driving some of my hard work? And then what's the model that's pretty quick for all the things that I really need to do to kind of get in my flow and move things faster? But talk is cheap. Let's actually get into it. 3 models, 3 jobs, the same exact prompt for each job, word for word, one shot, no retries, no follow-ups, nothing. The reality here is we're doing all this through one interface just so that you can see them collectively. Okay, round 1 is build. I asked all 3 for a complete playable arcade game in a single HTML file. Basically just dodging asteroids and all that stuff. Once again, this was one prompt with no questions and back and forth that was allowed. Okay, so I think GPT Soul did a good job here. This one's saying I can use the cursor. Ooh, okay. The physics looks good. It's really hard with this game to tell, but I think across all of them, we're going to say it did a good job. Let's see, though. This isn't... Ooh, okay, good UX there. And let's see the experience when I... Okay, I like it. No. Oh, Gemini, I think is going to win this one. Me personally, I don't know if you all could hear me that whole time. I think Gemini is going to win this one just because the dynamics around the speed, the visuals, it did something differently, And in 2026, what we need is something different. Okay, cool. Round two is business. I gave all three of them the same 6 months of sales data and asked them for their top 6 takeaways for an investor meeting. What they didn't know is that I planted 2 traps in the spreadsheet, a duplicated month and a revenue number that was off by literally 10x. Anything that anybody average could actually see. Okay, outlier detected on. So it's clear that GPT 5.6 Soul detected the outlier. This one also detected the outlier. And massive typo. So for all models, we're going to give this one a tie through the test around whether or not they could detect some of the stuff from an actual business. And round 3 is writing. The same stiff corporate paragraph to all 3 of them with one instruction. Rewrite it so it sounds like a human talking to a friend without losing a single fact. Let's check it out. Okay, I'm going to read the shortest one verbatim. As part of changes to how our organization is structured, we're closing our customer portal on September 30th. All your historical data will automatically move to the new platform, but you'll need to set up your customization preferences again yourself. Thanks for bearing with us while we make the experience better. If you have questions, please contact the support team through the usual ticketing channels. I think it's solid. I'm not going to act like I'm going to give one of them a win. I'm going to give negative points for, I think this was GPT Soul, and for Opus. I'm giving Gemini a point here too. This means Gemini is going to win because Gemini won 2 of them. This was a little bit of a sleeper pick. I wasn't expecting that either. I'm pretty surprised by the results. Let me know if you think the same. Do you feel like Gemini is the best? I personally think that today's testing was not as rigorous as it could have been, but I'm trying to show you something a little bit more. Here's the detail that I told you to remember. I didn't open 3 different apps to run this. I ran every single one of those tests through a single interface, OpenRouter. Exact company, Stripe, just agreed to buy. 1 gateway, any model, switching in 1 line. And the reality is I only had to use 1 API key. So what took me minutes used to be 3 different accounts, 3 different API keys, 3 different bills. And at the scale of trillions of tokens per day, it's what $8 billion cash, I think, was willing to just buy. So why would Stripe pay $8 billion for a router? Well, here is the easiest way for you to feel that. When you order food on a delivery app, you do not pick the driver. The app silently picks for you. It picks on who's closest, who's fastest, what's the trip going to cost for you and the driver. But for you, you just get your food. OpenRouter is that, but for AI models. A developer sends in a job, and request by request, the router decides where models go. If they want it set up like that, they might be able to do it based on best uptime or the most intelligent model. All of those mechanics are built within OpenRouter. It's not just plumbing. It's literally the control tower for how many AI companies choose to use their AI. So here's the sentence that I promised you, and it's not from me. It's from Alex, the CEO of OpenRouter, and Stripe's own announcement. Quote, "No single model will be optimal for every task." And that's the founder of the company that Stripe just bought, saying my thumbnail out loud in the press release. And you just watched me prove it right there on screen. The $8 billion bet is not on ChatGPT winning, or Claude winning, or Gemini winning. It's a bet that none of them wins everything, and that somebody has to sit in the middle and choose. And at the scale of trillions of tokens, that middle is genuinely hard to picture. 10 trillion tokens a day is more than 115 million tokens every second. So if you counted 1 token per second, no sleeps, no breaks, nothing, it would take you roughly 317,000 years to count a single day of OpenRouter volume. Every one of those requests is a tiny version of the face-off that you just watched. And it's a lot of influence over where AI demand goes. And look, I know the version of this fight that most people are actually going to care about, because you're probably paying $20 a month for one of these tools. And there's entire videos with hundreds of thousands of views dedicated to one question: which subscription is worth it? And it is a real question, but the winning answer is never going to be one logo. Which model is best for this exact job at this exact price right now? And what happens when your business can't afford to make that wrong choice at every request? That is what Stripe is betting is going to become a massive market. And personally, I totally agree with them. I think everybody near the end of this year or early in next year is thinking AI is amazing and the intelligence is exceptional. But how can I make this affordable? Because here's what Stripe actually bought. And it's not AI currency. It's something closer to the meter, the traffic cop, the checkout layer for AI work. a meter that measures what was used, a router that decides where work is going to go, and a billing layer that turns AI tokens into a price. Stripe already did this exact same thing for payments. You take a huge, painful mess, which is currencies, fraud, taxes, and all that stuff, make it programmable, and then become very, very hard to remove. AI has already done that with its own version. An open router is truly ingrained in the AI market today. So Stripe did not buy the AI itself. It bought the place where AI becomes a business. And the speed should reset your entire intuition around business. Open Router publicly launched about 3 years ago. And Menlo partner Didi Das himself says that it was about 90 people and its token volume grew 30,000 times from launch. Now, let me give you a takeaway and the catch. If you build anything with AI, you probably don't need to architect your future around any model name or any specific AI model provider. You need to build it around the job. So you might need one model for your hard reasoning. You might need one model for some of the cleanup work. You might do one model just for some of the high level analysis. But the company that can switch the fastest and can answer those questions the fastest is going to win. And they're probably going to save a lot of money. And even if you don't write a single line of code, you're going to feel this. The apps that you use are about to get opinionated behind the scenes. There's going to be AI drafting things, summarizing things. You're never going to know what model was chosen in the back. So the real question is going to stop becoming which model wins. And it's going to become who owns the layer that decides which model actually works. In the best case scenario, you're going to have way more models, way less lock-in, and all that good stuff. You're going to be able to switch without rebuilding. In a worst case scenario though, Stripe could turn Open Router into the new toll booth. One company that's doing most of the central routing for all AI tokens owned by one specific company doesn't seem that awesome. I do not think the answer today is to panic. I think the answer is to take routing as seriously as serious companies take cloud and payments and keep the middle layer accountable. So ChatGPT versus Claude versus Gemini. Who wins? Well, you watch the scoreboard. And the CEO of the company that Stripe just brought said it in broad daylight. No single model will be optimal for every task. So while everybody was arguing about which AI company is the smartest, Stripe walked past all three logos and bought the boring blinking box that decides which one gets to even answer for a price that took Tesla 10 years to achieve. No one AI is going to win every job. The winner is going to be whoever routes. If you like the content, don't hesitate to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. This is Wadude AI. Peace.